Swedish Terapeut here. You're out in my Swedish alton, and my husband has all of his tomatoes going. They're looking pretty good. It's been a long time. Ooh, it's been a long time. There's been other things in life that have come up, and maybe we'll get into that, but I doubt you really want to hear it because there's things going on in everyone's life. I mean, that's just the way it goes. You know, and here in Sweden, yesterday, let me back up just a little bit. This should have, this episode, You Deserve to Know, should have been done last Friday. I was emotionally and physically exhausted. I even took a nap. I hardly ever take a nap, but I took a nap. And so now it is Tuesday, the 22nd of June, and yesterday, the 21st of June, in Sweden, there was a no confidence vote for Stefan Löfven, and he is the Statsminister. Is that what they call him? But he's head of the Swedish government, and things kind of are a little crazy every once in a while, it seems like, because there's so many different people involved, and one group says this and the other group says this, and then there's another group that says this and another group that says this, and it's just like, what is one to think? So here at Swedish Terapeut, I want to make things a little bit simpler for all young people and common folk. So young people and common folk, I'm so glad you're here. If you like what you're watching, great. Watch episodes before or episodes after. This is episode T. And T is for Tom, T is for tomorrow. So let's talk just a second about our egg experiment. Okay. So my family is going to be extremely happy that I can remove these because they're gross. So we had two fraternal twins, two eggs, and we took off the outer shell with a vinegar water solution. So then we saw the bag that came from this guy. So this is the yolk, and it does smell a lot like vinegar. And this yolk is still a little bit gelatinous. Let me squeeze. Yeah. So I wouldn't eat that, but that little yolk had everything set up for life if it had been had a sperm decide to say hello to it, pollinate it. Pollinate. I got that from Jaapy van der Wal, and he's in Copenhagen. And he doesn't like my questions when Swedish Terapeut asks them. He rolls his eyes, but Jaapy is extremely awesome when it comes to philosophy and really what the a human body is all about. This is dried up water and skin, which was the outside skin of our egg. So it has kind of solidified and definitely dried up. Okay, so here's water in the fraternal twin that made it, that had the outside shell, the outside bag that stayed. And I'm going to lift it up, and I have plastic over my keyboard in case this breaks, because the integrity of this particular guy is not good. Even though his skin is still here and it's bouncy. Ooh, it's bouncy. Can you see that? Yeah. You can see the mold that's grown on. Now the mold might have come from my fingers because I have bacteria that lives on my skin. It could have come from the air, I suppose. It could come from the egg itself because microbes live in all these wet tissues, and microbes are in our body all over, and they love these moist tissues. Now, you can still see that there's liquid in here and it's moist. I'm going to take them out. So the black stuff, that's part of the mold. And I'm just going to squeeze them a little bit. And I'm hoping that he doesn't break on my keyboard. My husband will not be very happy. But you can see that still has the egg yolk inside. And this is an egg. And you're seeing it in all its parts and glories. So we took off the outer shell because that was a calcium substance. And we took that off with vinegar and water. And now we're left with this bag, which is skin number 2. And it's separating itself from skin 3, which is in there. And we saw that was dried up. So we say skin 1, 2, and 3. And 2 and 3 came from Dr. Antonio Stecco when he was explaining what fascia is. And it really makes sense. If skin 2 and 3 are more of a, not our external skin, but more of our internal skin, and one is there for proprioception and the other one, the deeper one, may be there for interoception, then we have an understanding and a basis of what the fascial nerve net, the fascial net is all about. And you're seeing that bag, the second skin, around the third skin, the yolk. Good, I'm glad it didn't break. Okay, so let's get on with our presentation that should have been last Friday. And yeah, follow me. Okay. La 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 la. So the la la la, that's just music because I'm clicking on things and that's the easiest way for me to get to where I'm going. And it might be annoying to you, but that's okay. So young people and common folk. This is Swedish Terapeut, dated Tuesday, June 22nd, from a small fictional town in Sweden called Jättebrasmåla. So if you're new to Swedish Terapeut and the You Deserve to Know episodes, you can see that this is T, and T is for tomorrow, and T is for Tom. And a Swedish Terapeut has this You Deserve to Know open access video letter, and it started all about my mom. And every once in a while we talk about her, but basically all those episodes are in the past. But they do affect my future and they do affect my present day. So every once in a while you'll hear about my mom. So Swedish Terapeut believes that young people and common folk, you deserve to know. One of my favorite songs is Annie's Tomorrow. And she sings, the sun will come out tomorrow. Bet your bottom dollar that tomorrow there'll be sun. Just thinking about tomorrow clears up all the cobwebs and the sorrow until there's none. If you're stuck with a day that's gray and lonely, then lift up your chin and grin and say, the sun will come out tomorrow. Now, tomorrow is always, well, it's consistently over the course of time, tomorrow has always come. And I would like tomorrow to come for you. And I would love tomorrow to come for my mom, but there is an end to tomorrow. Everything has limitations. My mom is getting close to her limits, and I am still amazed how her body learns and how it adapts and how she overcomes so much. It's amazing. So it does sound a bit awkward what I'm going to say next, but if we think in a different direction, Swedish Therapist has this awkward thinking, and awkward is a Nordic word. And if you go back far enough, it doesn't mean backwards. But the translation really should be facing a different direction because it's how people sat on a horse. And I can tell you as a woman, there are certain times during my month that I cannot sit on a horse without my legs side by side. And people traveled by horses a lot way back because we had no cars. And that was the mode of transportation. And if you couldn't ride on a horse, then you had to walk. And if you weren't able to walk, then you needed to ride on a horse or have someone carry you. So if you're part of a clan, if you're part of a Viking troop, Juff. So you sit on a horse in a different direction. So you face a different direction. All four, off the gear. I don't know this Nordic word. It's one of those past episodes. So here in Sweden, oh, look at this. I do have a video with the sound because it's important for all of our senses to work. This particular sound of this river where it starts is gorgeous, and it's like a babbling brook. So all of this water is going over top of the stones, of the rocks, and it's just beautiful. And I'm taking this picture standing on a bridge, and I'm taking this picture standing on the same bridge, and you get to see it starts in hey, hey. Hey, hey means hi. Hey means hi. There's a nice, beautiful tree and a long road that's been built over this stream. Now, it has happened in modern day that Viking ships have been found in cornfields. And also, when I lived in the United States, I think it was the Mississippi or it was the Missouri River. I can't remember which, but there was a ship that was found buried in a cornfield. And then they asked permission from the farmer and they dug it up, and it's perfectly it's very well preserved wood because there's been no oxygen and there's been no very little decay that has interrupted it. And I have to have some coffee. So things have been preserved. And when they when they start dissecting these remains, they're like, how did a ship get in the middle of a cornfield? And brilliant that it is, they say, oh yeah, there used to be a river here and it dried up. So the ship was sailing on a river, but it so happened that it sank. And after the course of time, the water shifted and a cornfield was left, or some sort of farm field. So I just wanted to let you know that I'm not making that up at all. We can see in history that rivers have changed their course and that rivers have dried up. So here is Jättebrasmåla river, which is now a lake. And it's a small lake here in Sweden, but it used to be a river. Now, if we dissect the word världsån, like we do with the human body, because the human body, we pick apart pieces and chunks because we learn in chunks. That's why phone numbers are in groups of 3 and 4, because we remember phone numbers. Well, we used to remember phone numbers before the advent of an iPhone or digital phones because we would have to dial them. Now it's very hard to remember phone numbers, but if somebody asks you your phone number, you might be able to tell them. So we learn in small chunks. So therefore we pick apart people, literally, and we learn about how they're put together in parts and pieces. Yet, the human body doesn't function in parts and pieces. And when I feel that I have a wrist, when I feel that I have an elbow, actually something's wrong. When I feel that my neck and and the tension of dealing with my mom in the United States has gotten so high. My body's telling me that there's something not right. So let's just divide up this word. Verd, we put on an S for a possessive, so verds. And the O, A with a circle, means river. And the suffix N, it makes the a definite form, which is called the. So this word, verds, belongs to verd. On, O, is a river, and on, this one means the river. So the river belonging to verd. That's what it means. So this is the river belonging to verd. Used to be a river, now it's a lake. And you saw where it started with that little baby stream. So the body's a whole, nature's a whole, they're seamless, which means take a few parts away and you don't have a whole anymore. And they function actually together. So our second and third skin must have integrity for us to function. You are whole, you are seamless. Appreciate your body and appreciate yourself. Now, let us pick up where we left off on You Deserve to Know S, which was about our skin and our safety system, security system. Security system. We talked about ctenophora, elephants, and humans. So let's just back up a little bit. So I asked, what do ctenophoras, elephants, ooh, I spelled that wrong. What do ctenophora? So plural drops the E in the S. Ctenophores should be ctenophora. That's the correct Latin. Elephants and humans, what do they all have in common? They have skin. And we have skin out external, and we have a second skin internal, and then underneath that we have a third skin. And they're all part of our security system. Awkward thinking is, oh yeah, what are these Asian elephants doing? It seems that a lot of scientists don't know why these guys are migrating. And then they started in March of 2020, right around the pandemic, when COVID happened, COVID-19, which happened in 2019, but 2020 is really the year that it affected everyone. And it still is, 2021. So what is their body sense, their second and third skin? What is it telling them? What is it saying to them? What do they feel? Because their Pacini receptors pick up vibration. And that's not the vibration that their ears are hearing. That's a different vibration. That's coming from the ground. So, you know, Greta Thunberg is a Swede. I know there's a lot of people that are going to disagree with her, and I don't understand why. She has to live in this world, just like I do, just like you do. And she's talked to the United Nations, and she's like, you know, you guys, we're starting the sixth mass extinction event, and there's really some scientific data that's telling us that we're in trouble for tomorrow. But like her, I just don't see us doing much about it. But I have to wonder, do these elephants feel something? So I go to Dr. Caitlin O'Connell, and she's got a great YouTube video. Thank you, YouTube, for just being awesome. Not everything is free on YouTube. And that's why Swedish Terapeut has made this kid-friendly videos. And I'm never going to monetize any of this because Money bothers me. I just don't have it. So it really bothers me. Elephants. Dr. Caitlin O'Connor has been working a long time, and she's been watching these African elephants, not the Asian elephants, but these African elephants, which are bigger than their Asian cousins. And the African elephants, she's said, they communicate with a seismic communication. So it's something in their second and third skin called a Pacini corpuscle, and there's other sensory receptors I'm certain that they use. And it picks up these vibrations in the ground. And so let's just back up. So if if the elephant is using their trunks and their feet and their ears, they feel vibration. So whether the air is traveling, the speed of sound travels in air to their ears, they can hear a lion roar and they know it's really close. But if they feel in the ground a lion roar, they'll kind of stay around the watering hole because they'll be like, yeah, we feel it, but we know the lion is not so close. So let's just keep on drinking until we've been alerted that the lion is a lot closer. And they're using their seismic communication, which I think is a brilliant thing. And thank you, Dr. Caitlin O'Connell, for coming up with this. They can sense danger, 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 move, 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 and it's involuntary. It if they actually hear the lion with their ears, they are moving, and there's no voluntary sensory system in their body that says, you know, I'm going to stay here at this watering hole because there's a really cool story happening about Dumbo and his days of flying and when he joined the circus. And no, that doesn't happen because their involuntary nervous system says, get the heck out of there. So we've talked about elephants. Now let's look at ctenophores. And if you remember from previous episodes, a ctenophora is, the C does not sound, it's silent. So many ctenophora or one ctenophore. So here on the right, we have a ctenophore that doesn't have bioluminescence. And then the ctenophore turns on to show bioluminescence. So pretty cool, but that's the skin. That's the ctenophore skin that is doing that bioluminescence. How freaking awesome. We in the human body have an autonomic nervous system too. So this is taken from Wikipedia, and this is taken from the oceanography article. And he is a water loving friend. And if there's more than one, it's a ctenophora. So they love water. They live in water. Their life is water. But all of this needs a fluid. This is our autonomic nervous system. Ooh, oh, that's crazy when this happens. Okay, this is an autonomic nervous system. It cannot function dry. See what happens when things dry up? Yeah. It needs moisture. So let's talk about a ctenophore a little bit. They don't have any brain, yet they have a nerve net, and they are millions of years before humans walked on Earth. So I wanted to share with you what Wikipedia had to say. And there's plenty of resources out there about ctenophores. Ctenophora. A ctenophora, many ctenophora, they don't have brains, or a central nervous system like we do, but they have a nerve net, and it's kind of like a cobweb. Now, we've talked about ctenophores before in the skin security episode, but I will just reiterate the outer layer of the epidermis, the skin, has sensory cells, and they secrete a mucus which protects their body. And they have interstitial cells, which are cells that are inside, and they transform into other cell types, kind of like our stem cell. And then ctenophora have an inner layer of skin. So let's just think maybe this is this is their skin. And we have a second and third skin. We have a first, second, and third. So their inner layer of skin has their nerve net. And they have myoepithelial cells, myo meaning muscle, epithelial meaning very surface level, and there's a bunch of cells there. And those cells are called coloblasts. And coloblasts help them catch their prey, and they're tiny little cilia hairs that help them to move. They also have something really cool that I didn't talk about last time. It's called a statocyte. And it's made from calcium carbonate, which this particular group of animals that live in the ocean, they're invertebrates. They don't have a spine, but they do have tiny grains of calcium carbonate. Now in the human, our bones, I don't have a bone here. Yeah. So this is calcium carbonate. But our human bones are calcium phosphate. So they're tiny little statolith, which is a tiny little grain of calcium carbonate. It's supported with 4 bundles of cilia, which are hair, and they're balancing. They're called balancers, and it balances their orientation, kind of like a gyroscope. And the ctenophore doesn't do this doesn't do this with conscious thought. And this happens involuntarily, but it's also based on their mood. So I haven't put this together. I haven't said this. This is coming from biologists. And you can talk to any oceanographer out there and biologists, and they're learning new things, and it's really cool. So in other words, their overall state of the nervous system determines how their statocyte is working. So let's go back to humans. We have in our central nervous system different branches, and one of them is the autonomic nerve system. It comes in 3 flavors because that's the easiest way to describe it, because when we start dividing things up into parts, for some reason we don't put them together. But if I say there's 3 flavors, then we know. Flavor sensations happen when we combine flavors. So if you want to have vanilla ice cream, go ahead. But if you have vanilla, strawberry, and chocolate, fantastic. I mean, the mouth is just like, this is awesome. Let's do it again. So our autonomic nerve system comes in 3 flavors. One is the sympathetic nerve system. The other one is the parasympathetic nervous system. It's also known as the rest and digest, or the feed and breed. So when we're relaxed and we feel good, we can think better, we can have relationships. Whereas if our sympathetic nervous system is turned on, then our heart's going, our pupils dilate, we get ready to fight or run. And then coming up with our 3rd flavor is lots of researchers, but this guy, I'm gonna just put a shout out for him. Dr. Gerson's groundbreaking book fills the gap between what you need to know and what your doctor has time to tell you. So doctor visits are about 10 minutes. So there's a high likelihood that you haven't heard about this. Too bad. We talked about Marion Diamond with the brain. And now we're just going to talk about Michael Gershon with the second brain. So the autonomic nerve system, the third of 3 flavors. And this book was in 1998. That's the copyright. But in July of 2016, Dr. Gershon and his colleague, Minska wrote an article in Nature Reviews Gastroenterology and Hepatology. I think hepatology is just a fancy word for blood. The study of blood, maybe study of fluids. Who are these guys? One is working in the Department of Pediatrics at Columbia University, and that's Minska Rao. And the other one is Department of Pathology and Cell Biology at Columbia University, and that's Dr. Michael Gershon. So they just describe in their book, Michael Gershon's book, many interesting things, but the paper itself from 2016. See, 2016. The enteric nervous system is large, complex, uniquely able to orchestrate gastrointestinal behavior independently of the central nervous system. Interesting enough, they're finding out that the enteric nervous system is playing a role in neurological disorders. So my mom's anxiety and her depression has a lot to do with how her gut's functioning. Whereas 10 years ago, going to her doctor probably would not have had this information. So it's a very important part of our neurochemistry. Neuro, brain, chemistry. Chemistry is our whole kit and caboodle in here. And interesting enough, now we're talking about a virus. And this is a chickenpox virus. And this chickenpox virus, Varicella or Zoster virus, also herpes. We can get a sexually transmitted disease, herpes, or you can get a cold sore, herpes, or you can get chickenpox. Here in Sweden, we still get chickenpox, but in the United States, there's vaccines for that. And here in Sweden, my 14-year-old daughter can't get her booster shot for chickenpox because they don't have it. They just don't, they don't have the vaccine. All right. Let's go back to the autonomic nerve system. Our first flavor of 3, the sympathetic nerve system. It functions through sympathetic ganglia. Now, we talked about this before, and I think episode R. And that was a long, complicated slide. But basically, what I'll say is there are 22 to 32 or 33 sympathetic ganglia on either side of the spine. Each ganglia is about 20 to 30,000 nerves where a bunch of information is coming in. So if you live around a train station, that would be a central station. If you live around an airport, that would be a central hub like LaGuardia or Denver International or LAX. And what's the biggest one? I think the biggest one is Sydney, Australia. Anyway, no, it's probably in Japan or Singapore. Our sympathetic activity increases our heart rate and our pupils dilate and we can get sweaty palms. But when the fight or flight response is maladaptive, When the danger is imagined, when it's not there, like the mind is playing tricks on you. Maybe you're hearing a voice, or maybe you close your eyes and you see an image that you just can't get out of your head. We experienced a very bad situation a few years ago where a young girl, yeah, I won't share that. There was a sound that came from an accident, and my daughter heard the sound, and then she associated the bad outcome that happened with that sound. And for weeks afterwards, my daughter heard that sound. That supposedly is a maladaptive um, response. When danger is imagined, prolonged, after the threat is over. And this is where my mom comes back in, because when everything is nice and even, when we don't have an O balance or a mismatch of signals, when we're here, life is really good. But when we're here, it's tough. And there was a chemistry experiment run on my mom during February and May of 2021, and it just blew up. And there was no safety gear, there were no gloves, there was no goggles, there was nothing. Now, she's done a really good job recovering because our body recovers. It it allostates. It comes back to this logom. But when it can't logomate, I made that word up. It can't go back to logom, right here, balance. Then we have problems. And in 2005, my mom was agoraphobic, so she couldn't leave the house. And we would go to the grocery store, and I'd finally get her there, and she would squeeze that cart so hard, these knuckles would be white. There was no blood in them. She was scared. And there's no logic. I couldn't talk her down. So she eventually recovered from all this adrenaline and hormone of cortisol flooding her interstitium, flooding her water internal system, Vetska, wet stuff. She learned to adapt. She learned to allostate through the help of chemistry and electrical help. So she had electrical shock therapy, electrical convulsive therapy, and it helped her. So I will just say Marian Diamond was a pioneer in brains and how the neurological system is very plastic. She's an amazing woman. Go check her out on YouTube. You will learn so much from her. But here's the thing. Our white matter in our brain, it's one of two components of the central nervous system. So our central nervous system, we just saw the autonomic nervous system with 3 flavors. We have a central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord, and then we have peripheral. And peripheral is everything that's sending in signals to the brain and spinal cord, and everything that's taking the signals from the brain and spinal cord and going out. These sensory receptors we have living in all this tissue in the moist areas of our body are involuntary. I could never talk my mom down from her situation. We do not control them through conscious thought, but we can be conscious of them. And if we're conscious of them, we might be able to change them. Breath is a really good way to change what's happening on the inside. So white matter, we've talked about, this was an episode P, and I'm bringing it up again because the Space Oddity song, which is by David Bowie, Ground Control to Major Tom, is coming up very soon. If you have not listened to Ground Control to Major Tom or Space Oddity, the song, I encourage you to do that because it's going to put in perspective why Tom's tomorrow dried up. Oh, we've talked about the brain. Tina Force didn't have a brain. Humpty Dumpty here doesn't have a brain, seems to function without a brain, and it does really well, and it develops and it grows, and if it's given the right things, it grows into a baby chick, or it grows into food for us, but I wouldn't eat this. And then we've met Noah. Now, Noah, when he was in his mom's womb, his brain itself wasn't growing. And so he was born with 2% of the brain. But the interesting thing about Noah is his parents, because they showered him with love, affection, kisses, hugs, and lots of physical therapy, lots of tactile stimulation, lots of stroking, lots of care. And his body adapted and it allostated. And he, at this particular interview in 2019, he was 6 years old. And he wanted to learn how to surf. And I don't know where he is today. This happened in the United Kingdom. I don't know his status at this point, but Noah is an amazing boy and a miracle of all miracles. And when we talk about biotensegrity and we talk about integrity, Noah has it in spades. So if you want to, go watch the interview. You will find out from Noah's dad. They went to Australia. They've gone lots of places. They've had lots of help. And Noah's thriving. But what happens to children and adults that don't thrive? So here's where my awkward thinking comes in, Swedish therapists. When we have mismatches in some of these perception systems, so like the vestibular system is a combination of vision and hearing. So our vestibular system combines these two senses, these flavors, in order for us to know where we're at. So if we've been on a boat and we get off the boat, we might feel the ground actually wobbling for a while, and then we learn to adapt. My daughter cannot be in the back seat while we're driving because she will feel more illa, sick. If she sits in the front seat, she's better. But if she starts looking at her iPhone or iPad, then it's worse. So when she uses her vision and gets more information in front of her, she's better. My husband has a hard time sitting in the passenger seat. So if he moves over to the driver's seat and he feels the steering wheel and he has to look in the rearview mirror and see what's going on behind him, see what's going on in the front, then he doesn't feel as sick. Totally involuntary, but there is a way we can help the perception systems sync, to feel logom, to not mismatch. But when mismatches happen, we have sensor processing disorders, and that comes from Kara. Kara Kosinski wrote about in her book about Williams and Schellberger pyramid of learning. Let's just go to Kara. So I don't have Kara right here. Darn it. Yeah, Kara. Kara has a website, Pocket Occupational Therapist, and this is about the author. We're going to get there. Kara brought up in her book about Williams and Schellenberger's pyramid of learning. And this is the pyramid of learning that's been changed. I put ground control at the base because that's the central nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is in there. And the ground part is tactile, touch. This purple hand, touch. Vestibular. And what's vestibular? It's a combination of eyesight and the canals in the ear, vestibular. Proprioception. What's proprioception? First skin, second skin. Second skin is proprioception. When you combine all three, then you get another layer of a sensory system. You combine it with olfaction. You combine it with sight. You combine it with auditory, hearing. You combine it with taste. Then you start learning as a baby more things. You learn how to sit up. You have an awareness that you have two sides of the body. Ooh, yeah. And that if you have something in your hand here and you want to eat it, you have to take it to your mouth. And then you have another hand so you can grab some more. And this is why a baby sitting in a high chair eating peas and blueberries is awesome to watch. And then somehow this amazing creature called a human starts this motor planning. I want food. I want my coffee. I'm going to take this to my mouth. I'm going to drink. That tastes good. So I'm going to want more. And then as we develop sensory motor skills, we develop more of what the body feels like. And are we safe in our body? Are we secure in our body? Do we want to body shame or do we want to be confident? This is our self. And then reflex maturity. Our reflexes get more mature. One of the reflexes is when we're riding a bike. So as we ride a bike and as we learn to ride a bike, if we're going to turn our head and look backwards, we learn that this can't happen because we're going to turn and crash. So we learn to hold onto the handlebars, turn our head, and look behind us without turning our hands, because that changes the direction of the wheel. This is part of learning how to ride a bike. And once we learn it, it stays with us. And so as you can see on this pyramid of learning, we keep going up. We keep going up. We keep going. Oh, darn it. Darn it. Sorry. We keep going up the pyramid to daily living activities, behavior, and cognition and intellect. And this is where my mom is running dry. She is so running dry. So I have her on electrolytes and she's drinking electrolytes and she's got this yummy stuff from Scratch Labs. Thank you, Scratch Labs in the United States. You helped my mom. It's a strawberry and then lemon lime, and it just mixes with water. And it's helping her because it's liquid electrolytes or minerals in solution. So Major Tom, if you've listened to the song, Major Tom's tomorrow dried up. He lost connection with his ground control. And when ground control can't talk to Major Tom and there's no communication, there's a disconnect. And disconnects happen all the time. And there's misunderstandings. And they happen all the time. So, can we learn to feel more? Can we learn more tactile? Do you see here on the bottom, this ground level? Can we learn more tactile? Can we feel more in order to live better? Can we use our vestibular system in order to live better? Can we use our proprioception in order to live better? And there's people out there that say we can. So Kara, the occupational therapist, in her book, she talks about touch and tactile, what sense that is, sense number 5. Here's our common senses, 5. And Kara talks about the purple one. But what's more is Kara talks about proprioception and position, sense number 6, and vestibular, sense number 7, and interoception, sense number 8. And Sue Hitzman, I learned from, and she says body sense is proprioception, sense 8, and interoception, sense, so we back up. Sue Hitzman has said, our second and third skin is body sense. Second skin, proprioception. Meissner corpuscles, Golgi tendon organs, muscle spindle cells, Ruffini corpuscles, Pacini corpuscles, Merkel cells, C tactile receptors, mechanoreceptors of all sorts, interstitial nerves. I might have covered most of them. They're all sensory receptors, telling our body if we're safe and secure. So, Sue Hitzman has said body sense is sense number 6, and number 8, interoception, how we feel, combined. So our nerve net is the second and third skin. And I'm begging you, young people and common folk, and even if you're uncommon, great. Do not lose the perception of body sense. My mom has lost the perception of body sense, and her daily activities are very tough. Her behavior is very tough. Can she learn anymore to use an iPad? No. 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 So Kara brings us up to speed with our different senses: tactile, proprioception, vestibular, and interoception. Now, she is a mother of autistic children, which makes her an expert. She is also an occupational therapist. She is also an educator, and she is also a professor. So in my book, in my book, she's more than an expert. She's a mom. And ABR, there's a mom in Denmark named Diane, who has worked with, I'm going to say his name wrong, Leonid Bloom. He's Russian. Nice guy, mathematician, super smart. They've come up with advanced biomechanical rehabilitation. If you have any special need children, there's a resource. Go have fun, because if you need help with your child, there are resources. Now, Eric Franklin method, he's based in Germany, but he's been around a super long time, and he speaks perfect English, and he's got tons of YouTube videos. He's great. And it's all about tactile and tapping and using balls to get our sense of touch, so we can feel more, so we can live better. And then there's Anna. Anna is in the United Kingdom, and I'm not going to try to say her last name, but she's the course director and principal educator of Evolved Movement Education, or Moving Fascia. And read about her. She incredible woman that her lungs have collapsed. And she went to so many medical professionals. The thing is, her lungs collapse. She's female. There's a lot of things going on. But if you go to one professional and they don't know what's going on, then you go to another one, and then you go to another one, and then you go to another one. So Capimino, pneumothorax. Thorax is chest, and this is lungs, and I don't know what this means. So it's a rare condition. She has it. She'll teach you how to breathe because she has to breathe every day, just like you and me, but she knows how to do it. There's Jill Miller in California with Yoga Tune-Up and a book called The Role Model. Fantastic woman. She's from the South in the United States. And Yumana, oh gosh, I spelled that wrong, didn't I? I did. Huh. I think the last name is Zake, Z-A-K-E. But she has a YouTube video from 2021, 2011. So 10 years ago, she says in the video, building a strong foundation. She's been in yoga practice for 40 years and she's never injured herself. And she looks fantastic and strong and fit. So if you want to know something about anatomy, go to Anatomy U on her website. I purchased it. It's awesome. Or just watch her YouTube video. And then there's a guy in Poland, Zoga movement, multi-dimensional movement. How we don't just move in one plane forward, as in walking, we go side to side, we go up, we go down. It's biotensegrity. Remember? So we don't dry out. Because we have skins, our first skin, our second skin, and our third skin. Don't get dry. Your integrity goes away. Keep moist, no cracks in the integrity system, integral system. Because when things dry up, like our river did, I standing right here on the road that's now there. This used to, I mean, can you just see it? It used to be a river. Just had to be a river. This is the lake that's attached to it. We dissect words. We dissect actions. We dissect nature. And we dissect the nature of the human body. And we dissect each other. And we do all of this without a conscious thought because most of the times it's mean and it's rude. And if we used our conscious thinking, we would understand we're all a whole and we are seamless. And really, we depend on each other and we depend on nature. So when one isn't feeling well, the other isn't feeling well. The body's whole, nature's a whole. Both of them function better when they're wholes. So don't run dry. Keep hydrated. Move your body. You deserve to know. Thank you for coming here to Swedish Terapeut. Wonderful to see you. So if you want to, go get a fun little book. Go look at your wood. Find a way to get some energy. Hej då, vi ses igen.